All right, everyone, and we are live. This is Doc Williams with Brand Factor Inc., and today we're going to be talking about the new Gary V content model 2.0 that we just came out with. Now, later on, you'll actually see the playlist if you're on the YouTube channel of actually as we break all of these things down. But we're premiering this in the Clouds and Dirt Challenge, and we wanted to go through the slide deck that we created, how we actually created this, what this means for businesses, and why we actually did a 2.0 of the Gary Vee content model. So let's get right into it. So the content period 2.0 pyramid, the reason we did this was the model that we created is a systematic approach how you create content, but to do it with purpose and specific positioning. Now, first of all, just to let everyone know, we're not haters. We actually use something very close to Gary Vee's content model. But the basic fact that we kept seeing over and over again, especially working with clients or other brands, so many people were fixated on just creating content and the process or just documenting it without thinking about what the end result was going to be. It actually caused a lot of anxiety. They actually stopped putting out a lot of content and they just kept spiraling. They kept getting stuck in this continual loop of like, yeah, I need to create content, but I don't know where I'm going to put it, blah, blah, blah. We created the 2.0 to bring clarity before you go out and just turn on a camera, because we have been successful in creating very, very specific type of content that has then helped us to transition or position ourselves. And we're not a special case. Everyone can do this. So that's why we created the 2.0, and also showing people that it is possible to create the same volume that Gary creates, 30 plus pieces of content from one long form piece of content. And we've done it, and we wanted to show you actually how to practically do it. Not just show you that, hey, you just do X, Y, and Z, but how we did it from start to finish. So that's what this video is going to be about. So what we did with the content pyramid before we went through it. Now the documenting, the document pillar, the repurpose into micro content, and the distribution, that stayed exactly the same as Gary Vee's model. But what we did was, before actually creating that document, that pillar content, we went and created a type and purpose category, and we had people actually fill out what they were trying to do before they went into it. So what does that look like? Well, first, you have to decide on the type of content you want to create, right? Do people ask you for a certain type of content? Do you have a lot of people that are like, man, I wish you did X? Or a lot of your audience is asking you to produce a certain type of content or record your conversations with celebrities or X, Y, and Z, right? Are people asking you for a very specific type of content? Well, why is that important? The reason is, tons of times people are like, well, I'm just going to do podcasting. Podcasting is great. We do podcasting. But there's a couple of things to consider. Are anyone even considering, do people want to hear from you? Do people want to hear your voice? Do you even like doing it? And what's the purpose of creating podcasts? Is it to leverage what you're doing? Is it to get you to be a speaker on a very specific conference? Does it have to be about a certain type of content? See, all those things need to be considered before you just say, I'm going to do a podcast, because we're trying to be skillfully creating something for your brand that can be a legacy. So what type of do people ask for a certain type of content? What feels most natural? Do you want to do audio? Do you want to do visual? Do you like being on camera? What do you actually like to create? And what have you been successful in the past? That last point, I don't think people consider enough when they're doing this, because you might have a background or you might have connections to something that can come very easily. And without putting that on the table, without even looking at that, you could be hitting your head against a wall for 6 years, 7 years, a year, 6 months, when there's something that could be staring you straight in the face that you're just not putting on the table to consider. That might be an easy way to start distributing your content, giving you authority, position, and getting you to your goal. The next one is the purpose of the content. What are you trying to do? Are you building this for authority? Are you doing this for an impact of your industry? Are you doing this for brand awareness? All these things need to be factors of the purpose of content that you're creating before you go out and start doing pillar content. Because what you'll find is if you don't identify the purpose of the content, you're going to be looking at all the content that you created later on and then wonder, okay, so now what? What do I do with it? Where am I going? You've got to do it before. Then you can go into the process that is found in the Gary Vee content model. So the first thing talking about, you have to establish a pillar content. You've got to document it. So what does that look like for you? Right? What does that pillar content look like? Well, you're going to pick some long form piece of content, either video, audio, or something that you can then use to chop up and do whatever you want with it. But you have to see, what are you doing in your life? For example, are you creating a daily vlog? Are you doing something with a show or a format? If you're looking at Gary Vee, the Ask Gary Vee videos that he did, that video series, well, what could he do with that? Well, he made it a book. He made it a series that was very, very concise, so then he could reference his own episodes to create even more of a library of his own content and thoughts. Are you involved in keynotes and interviews? Those are things that you have to consider. And perhaps you're already falling in one category or another right now. Think about or write down on a piece of paper pillar content that resonates with you. And write down that piece of content and then write down some notes. Why do you want to go with that type of content? Because that allows you, again, we're looking at easy wins as you're creating content. You have to go with a format that fits your personality and fits what you can do. If you're around people all the time and they're CEOs and people are constantly like, man, I wish I heard that conversation, can you just pull out your phone and just record the conversation? Of course, let them know. Ask the people if they want to, be on your show and everything, or explain what you're doing before you're invading their privacy. But think about what is in front of you right now that you can create. And then from there, from that one pillar of content, then you're going to go into micro content. And that micro content will be short form pieces of content that you can create stories around, miniature stories, quotes, memes, whatever you're going to do. That's what you're going to do with that micro content. And then from that micro content, then you can make sure that you're repurposing it on platforms that make sense. You're not just copying and pasting. The thing that you do on Instagram or Facebook is not going to work on Snap and Pinterest, right? It's not going to work on Instagram. So you're going to create that micro content, again, that aligns with the platform that you're going to be on. And again, you're going to take a poll of what platform should you be on in the first place? What makes sense with your brand? Why are you leveraging that platform to go to that end result that you're looking for? Now, again, we also created this micro content creation workflow, and it goes into 3 different columns right here. Again, the purpose of the content, the major platform that you're going to be going with, where you should be having traction on, or you plan to have traction on, and then you can use a minor platform for testing. So we gave an example, right? So if the purpose of the content that you're trying to create is authority for your brand, you need to be upfront with all of the content that you're creating, from that pillar content to the micro content. You're trying to build your authority. That could be being on a certain level with certain celebrities or certain types of industry. It might just be that you know what you're talking about, and all of your content proves your methodology or your approach is the main idea. Okay, well, you're first establishing that authority. Then on the major platform, you're going to first declare what that is for you to be systematic. Let's say it's going to be YouTube. Okay, so that's going to be your main one with traction. So you're going to put most of your time and energy, you're going to focus on that, right? You're going to be making sure that you're having the right titles, tags, all that stuff, and we'll go into that later. But you're focusing your main effort onto that. Then you might have a minor platform where you think some of your audience is hanging out, but either you're not good with the technology, you don't know about that platform, or again, you don't know your traction, and if people care about you on that platform, you're going to pick a minor platform to test. You might think about it, some people might have their business mainly or their brand using Instagram and then they're on TikTok. Or they might use YouTube, but they also have Twitter. You're going to have one that's going to be your main hub where your content and your brand's going to be on social media, but then you're going to have a minor one. Now, after you decide on that, then you can decide how you're going to distribute those pillars in the micro content. Again, the purpose is to have a plan. You're not just going to haphazardly do this. So if you're going to distribute the pillars in micro content, you might say, okay, well, I'm going to start with YouTube. My micro content is going to go on LinkedIn and Instagram, and then I'm going to have another form that I'm testing, and that's going to be on Quora or Instagram or LinkedIn groups where it's going to be written or something that's going to go in depth, all based off of the pillar content. Now, the next portion is you're going to listen. That's going to be, you're going to actually look at how people are treating your content, right? It's great that you're putting content out and you're having a very specific frequency, but without taking a poll of how people are responding to it, you could be that could be detrimental because they could be telling you what they want or how you should be pivoting, but without looking at the comments, without looking at the traction of what they're doing, that's going to really mess up how your message is going to be resonating with your, again, target demographic or purpose of what you're doing with your content. So you're going to look at the community insights of what's happening, how people are treating your content, and then what they're saying to do. Then the next portion you're going to do with the micro content, you're going to be creating community-driven micro content, which just means what has traction, what people care about, you're going to do more of that, right? So you've got to first understand you're going to have KPIs, key performance indicators, or you're going to have benchmarks that you want to hit and see if they hit those benchmarks. If they exceed it, if it hits the benchmark, okay, now you have a plan to create more content and to put it out. So you're going to use those insights and now you're going to put it out into the environment again. And then you're going to see how people react to the second round of micro content that you're putting out. Again, this is based on the traction that you're getting. So you're going to do this, you're going to be tracking, and then from there, you're going to see what the next portions or the next things that you're going to be doing. Now, some people might say, well, that sounds great, but again, I don't think I can do it myself. That's just not me. Well, in this next portion right here, you're going to see how we actually were able to do this and be successful in this same format. And we're going to go through just one example of what we did with Vayner Sports and what that meant, right? So again, if you have not, if you want to see this broken down and want to see it a play-by-play, we actually created a YouTube channel that will walk you through, and you can actually watch all of the pieces of content that were created in this process by going to YouTube and going to the Gary V Content Model 2.0, and that whole channel has a playlist of a breakdown of every single thing that we did, starting with the interview and then breaking it into micro content. So this is the channel. You can subscribe or just go to the playlist and to go through that. So as we go through this right now, we're going to be breaking this down and then referring back to what we just saw. Okay, so we're going to go back into the slides, going back to the content model, and we're going to walk through this. Okay, so right here, this is the content machine of what we did with the interview. So I'm going back into the presentation, start right here. Good. The first thing that we did was we first documented the interview. So this is with AJ Vaynerchuk, and this is talking about the creation of Vayner Sports. So first, we just had the interview. While we were there, we were also capturing the behind the scenes or tour of what happened when we actually interviewed him. So let's look at the first round of micro content. What did we do? Well, the first round of micro content was we actually had a day at VaynerMedia. That was the vlog version of what happened around the interview. And then that video actually had snippets of what happened with us and then also the interview with AJ, just snippets. Then we had multiple pieces of the interview. As we can see, we can have Vayner Sports looking past convention, coming in with fresh eyes, all snippets from the original video, but all presented and distributed on Twitter, on Instagram, to get to see what the audience thought of it and getting a response. We also had the touring Vayner Media portion, which was about a 10-minute view of the behind the scenes of The Office that we got to do. And they were great. The staff did all those things for us. The next part was actually having the Brand Factory audio experience, where we actually then were in studio and we recorded a podcast recapping the video. Now, we actually recorded the video and had it recorded so we had a video and audio version so we could strip out the audio, going to Anchor, putting it on multiple platforms, but also, again, we have another video piece of us commenting on the video that we did, and now we could even clip videos from that as well. Then looking at the distribution, we focused on the micro content, what it was doing, but after going on the different points of distribution, we had KPIs, key performance indicators, or benchmarks with the purpose of us putting out content. The purpose of putting out content was not just to advertise the interview and the article that it ended up in the magazine SweatRx, but also we could use those micro pieces of content that we actually then got an opportunity to use that to get media passes to cover the G League. We did that because we had the clear indication that we're into sports and that our our interview was published in a sports magazine, and then that allowed us to leverage to use it somewhere else. So again, remember we were talking about at the beginning, what was the purpose of this? Ours was positioned for authority, and then to have a jumping off point to show others what we could do with them with their business, with creating content, with creating a storyline. And now we're having the content work for us and to use it in multiple different facets to impact our brand and to have an impact for other businesses. Again, we use this through 5 different steps, and again, having it for a very specific reason for positioning and to get us to the next level. So again, thank you very much for watching, for seeing how we walk through our process and the new Gary V model 2.0. Again, this is meant to have an impact for businesses to have a clear and concise way to create purposeful and meaningful content to impact them and their business. So we're going to be, again, premiering this very soon at Vayner Media, but this is the first walkthrough of the content model 2.0. And if you have any questions, message us at doc@brandfactoryinc.com or go through the videos, ask us questions. And if you need any help or want to do this for you and your business, reach out to us because we would be happy to talk to you and see if we would be a good fit for you. Again, thank you so much and talk to you soon.